Thank you very much to our wonderful panel. That was a very thoughtful and enlightening discussion. So, over the past several months, I have had the pleasure to lead the first cohort of TradeTech Regulatory Sandbox alongside my wonderful TradeTech team with support of UAE government partners, regulators, and a remarkable group of global innovators. So, in the second half of this session, we are going to hear from our 8 sandbox participants to set the context behind this sandbox. So the ambition behind this sandbox was bold, to test how emerging technologies from AI to blockchain to advanced payment solutions like stablecoins can make the global trade more efficient, inclusive, and sustainable. I personally believe that the future of trade is not written only in a computer code or in a policy. It's written in the partnership of innovation and regulation, and that was the essence of the TradeTech Regulatory Sandbox. In this project, we launched a global call for participation and received around 47 testing proposals, and then from 21 countries, and then we selected around 8 high-impact startups to be a part of our first cohort. With the support of Central Bank of the UAE, ADGM, DFSA, and RegLab, these technologies were tested with regulatory support. Our focus was to tackle some of the most pressing challenges faced by the trade finance industry, like paper-based documentation, limited access to trade finance, regulatory uncertainty, and delays and cost in cross-border payments. Today, I am pleased to share some of the key insights and learnings from this sandbox, insights which we believe can help shape the future of next generation digital trade. So the first learning from this sandbox was paperless trade is no longer a concept, it's a proven reality. Our participants, Credor and Enigio, showed how MLETR compliant digital documentation can streamline trade, improve efficiency, and open up trusted trade corridors. Second learning, digital trust really matters. Our participant, Empiria, showed how digital product passports and blockchain-based identity tools can reduce inspection delays and increase supply chain visibility. The next and a very critical learning that we had through this sandbox was SME trade finance approval can really drop from weeks to few minutes. Our participant Jetstream Africa showed how AI can cut trade finance approval from 4 weeks to just 10 minutes. Combined with IOTA Twins digital identity and stablecoin rails, we saw that inclusive finance is possible with the right tech and regulatory alignment. Next learning is on stablecoins and tokenization. So both these technologies hold great promise, but require clear rules. Our participants, Medad Holdings and Voy Finance, tested stablecoin payments and tokenization assets for trade finance, showing real efficiencies in cross-border payments. And finally, digital guarantees are ready to scale. Our participant, Hyphens, showed how blockchain-backed digital guarantees can reduce friction, free up capital, and prevent fraud if supported by regulation and if widely adopted. So now I'm going to invite our participants one by one to talk about what problem they focused on in the sandbox, what was the solution, and what are their policy recommendations to the regulators. Let me kindly remind you, each participant has around 5 minutes, and my apologies if I cut you while speaking, but just because we want to ensure everybody gets a fair chance to present. So we can start with our first participant. So you can come at this podium and there will be a presentation, so you can use that and present your learnings here. So let me invite Mr. Jens from IOTA Foundation to talk about IOTA Twin.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, very good to meet you all. Thanks to the team for this opportunity. It's been very, very great to have this opportunity to work on these innovative solutions. So my 5 minutes, I'm just going to give you a quick flavor of what was the problem, how did we solve it, and some of the thinking, right? So first of all, we focused on trade finance as factoring. We worked with flour producers in Kenya. Why flowers? Well, flowers is something that moves very fast. The flower producers have already solved their you could say the logistics challenges, because you need the flowers to be at Mother's Days and St. Valentine's, and they need to not look old when they arrive there. So they actually solved that problem very well. Very efficient operations. Finance, not so much. Their problems in finance, I would say there's two types of problems that they are facing. We will categorize them as cost of capital and cost of process. Cost of capital is basically based on them being risk screened as a Kenyan company by a local bank, having to show their books for the last year, and maybe even, as some of the CFOs said, I throw in my car as collateral when I go for finance solutions. So they are perceived as high risk in this case, but they might even sell these flowers to a Unilever or somebody in Europe that will pay, even though they're still seen as high risk based on their past performances. Their cost of processes is the trade finance today for them is a paper process. They go to the banks. There are corresponding banks with the buyers. So there are 3 banks involved in the process. I'm sure many of you have experienced the same in your work in this. And there is 3 banks who wants a fee for this to work. So the cost of process is also very high. So you have 2 very high costs here, cost of capital and cost of process. So what we said was, we would love to think about this as an infrastructure and what are the elements to solve this solution. So instead of building everything ourselves, we said, okay, who can we partner with here? And we use this as a partnership approach. So we work with the Kenyan government, who's been working with the TILIP, which is IOTA Foundation's behind, where we can pull out government data directly. We can pull out information of this trade, the commercial invoices, where are the goods, have they been inspected by the authorities, so we know the goods exist. We have the invoice. The invoice has been signed off by a government entity, so we actually have very trusted data around the invoice. Then we wanted to use smart contracts and tokenization, tokenizing this invoice, making sure MLGR-wise you can transfer the value of this invoice and sell it and do factoring on it. And with this, we could solve the cost of capital, because now we could transfer the risk to Unilever in Europe, buying it and saying, well, if the funds are coming in 60 days for this invoice, well, it's on Unilever to pay us now. It's not on the trade producer in Kenya anymore. So we could solve that issue and move some of those risks. We worked with some of the larger stablecoin providers to say, payment is also a problem. How can you receive the payments within a couple of minutes? So talking to them about how do we set up wallets, it has all regulatory problems transferring funds as stable coins around the world. And then the last thing, or the 2 last things we brought in, is trade flow. What they have is to have a risk model. So what should this invoice cost, giving its journey, giving who is involved in this, plus access to capital. They already has a tokenized funds within AGGM, so it's an easier way to use them into this. So we said, let's bring together as a modular LEGO approach the solutions that actually makes this an infrastructure approach. So that was basically what we did. On recommendations, you can have many recommendations. I chose one that I heard the panel actually saying, which I love, is the fact that, governments are also participants. They can also drive things. It's not just oversight and regulators. Especially in Kenya, we saw with the Kenya revenue authorities, they have some data that is important for us to bring down the risk. And they're giving us the data. So they are actually providing a very valuable and a low cost for them opportunity for us to innovate in this ecosystem. So I think my 5 minutes is up, but thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, Jens.